Hello, Moonflower, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Carolyn. Always lovely to spend some time with you. So, I have two notes before we get into today's podcast episode. So, the first note is a very exciting announcement and invitation. In December, I will be interviewing the author of a really wonderful fantasy trilogy, The Halfling Saga. Melissa Blair is a local author. She's also a queer and Indigenous author and will be joining us on the podcast to not only talk about her book, but also about how she cares for herself as a busy creative writer. So if you actually want to listen to that episode having read her books or book, because there's two of them out and the third one comes out soon, then this is your time to get the book. You have about 2 months until that episode comes out, because I know that I like to know a little bit more about an author when I hear them interviewed. So here is your invitation to do that if that's something that you know you're going to want to do. But otherwise, you can just tune into the episode. It's going to come out early December. So that's very exciting. I'm very, very excited to bring that conversation to you. And my second note is your gentle reminder to download our free resource called In Tune with the Moon. So this resource is filled with lunar rituals as well as phone wallpapers that are moon phase calendars. So if you know that you like to live in tune with the moon, or you don't really know what that looks like and want to learn more, then this resource will give you all the information to do that. So you can download that resource by clicking the link in the show notes. All right, so for today's episode, we are talking about eco-anxiety, how to navigate eco-anxiety with somatic self-care as a highly sensitive, creative, and earth-loving soul. There's this interesting and uncomfortable contradiction that has been present inside of myself, has been present for a while, but has been more present lately as I gaze up at the beauty found in the changing colors of the autumn leaves. Although this is a conversation that we could have pretty much any day of the year, so if you're listening to this episode and it's winter or it's spring or it's summer or whatever, this will absolutely resonate with you regardless. But it feels especially poignant right now because the emotion that seems to be coming up for me is not only eco-anxiety, but there's a grief involved in this process. And fall really is an opportunity for us to get comfortable with the process of not only holding grief, but also getting familiar with how we can let it move through. So this episode, we're going to talk about how to navigate the overwhelming emotions involved in the realities of climate change so they don't just swallow you whole. So let's talk about it, Moonflower. Welcome to the Moonflower Path podcast. This space is for the highly sensitive, the creatives, the earth-loving, the caregivers, the weirdos, the feelers, the change makers, and dreamers of the world. Here, we are all about guiding you to trust your body intuition so you can find home and shift culture. Through the exploration of somatic practice, self-care, and seasonal ritual, my hope is that you will be inspired to be in harmony with yourself and in a dance with the earth. I'm your host, Carolyn, and I'm so honored and grateful to be here with you today. So every month in the Moonflower Path community space, we have a monthly kickoff call called The Grove. And in the last conversation, we talked about the relationship found between the beauty of October and the dreariness of November. They both were part of the conversation where we talked about the things that we really love about October and the beginning of fall. And we also talked about maybe the apprehension of making our way into November. One member succinctly said, bottle it up, in a good way. Not like bottle it up and shut it down, but in a good way. So bottle up the lovely moments found in gazing at the beauty of the changing colors of the leaves. bottle up the cozy moments found in baking with pumpkins, apples, and squash of all kinds. Bottle up the warm moments found in sweaters and blankets in front of the fire. Bottle up the way the crisp morning air smells when you can catch the awe-filled sunrise. Bottle up the sound of the leaves crunching under your feet in the mosquito-free and sun-filled forest walks. Why bottle it up? Well, isn't it interesting that October comes before November? Isn't it interesting that one of the most beautiful months comes before the brownest and wettest and possibly dreariest months of the year? I don't think that relationship between those 2 months is a coincidence. I think there's something for us to be learned in that. Maybe it's because it's an opportunity to teach us the importance of letting things be impermanent. Maybe it's to teach us the importance of how we can infuse some joy into moments of darkness. Maybe it's to teach us the power we have of turning to that metaphorical bottle filled with these moments of beauty, awe, and wonder, and let it wash over us in moments where we can be easily lost from hope. So this brings me to the experience that I mentioned at the very beginning of the episode. As I've been taking that reminder to bottle it up to heart and how I move through my days since that conversation, it's been an experience filled with a multitude of emotions. As I sat outside on my porch the other night, reading a book as the sun set, and it was so warm I didn't need a sweater or blanket even though it was October, I was filled with both, gosh, it is so beautiful outside, and the leaves are so perfect in their multitude of colors, and there's no mosquitoes outside, and the glow of the orange leaves and golden sunset is just beautiful. And it should not be this warm outside right now. And the earth offers us such beauty, but she is struggling right now. All of those different thoughts and emotions were present in the very same moment. There's a grief found in the process of being awestruck by the beauty of the earth. And it's not one or the other. Most of the time it's coupled with deep support that I find from the earth, deep connection, deep learning, deep gratitude, but it's still there. The grief with the gratitude. And it can very easily, if I don't decide otherwise, that it can get very overwhelming and fill me with a lot of anxiety. This is a term that you've probably heard, and it's called eco-anxiety. Now, let's talk about anxiety. So anxiety, as defined by the American Psychological Association, anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. People with anxiety disorders usually have recurring intrusive thoughts or concerns. That was literally pulled from this website. Okay, so in short, anxiety is when your brain tells your body that there is a threat to your safety. That is a very real experience. So even if you know that it stems from the brain, it is an experience felt in the body. And I say that because I really don't want to invalidate your experience if you are somebody who navigates anxiety. And if you're somebody who navigates anxiety, you probably already know what anxiety is, what it feels like, and maybe some ways to navigate it. But very specifically today, we're going to talk about eco-anxiety. And that's the anxiety that comes from knowing the realities of the state of the natural world as it is right now. Now, connecting with the earth is also a somatic experience, somatic meaning embodied. Placing bare hands or bare feet on the earth is an experience that connects your body to the earth. There's a practice called earthing that is proven to help positively benefit our mental well-being. You've also probably heard of forest bathing, where at this point, some doctors actually can prescribe forest bathing because it is proven that being outside positively impacts our physical body and mental well-being. There's also science behind the positive benefits of being in awe. And what better place to be in awe than to gaze at a sunset? Feel the sheer force of a waterfall, the beauty at a mountaintop view, or be awe-filled at the intricacies of mycelium. To connect with the earth is an embodied experience. So when we connect with the earth and we sense its instability and struggles around climate change, that is something that is felt in our bodies. And I'm not going to sit here and list off all the things you should be worried about when it comes to climate change. Chances are that if you're listening to this episode, you already know the facts, and you're here to know how you can at least alleviate the anxiety associated with the reality we find ourselves in. And the first thing that I'd like to say here is the fact that you navigate periods of eco-anxiety means that you care. That is a beautiful thing. It might not feel so beautiful when you're filled with sadness, anger, or grief, and I get that. And I get that on a very personal level, that it probably doesn't feel so beautiful, but it is. That care is needed and something that can be used for fuel. So let's talk about that. Let's get into some somatic self-care tips and tools to navigate eco-anxiety. Hello, gentle listener. Carolyn here, interrupting today's episode to tell you about our new free resource called In Tune with the Moon. Learn to listen to, trust in, and honor your body intuition so you can feel empowered to take up space in your life with the moon by your side every step of the way. This free resource includes digital moon phase calendars. So that's pretty phone wallpapers and widgets that have a moon phase calendar on them from now until the end of the year, and they'll be updated in the new year. 4 lunar ritual videos that are about 30 minutes in length and always follow the same comforting ritual of some gentle yoga, some meditation, and some lunar-inspired journal prompts. And yes, these are cozy and accessible. All bodies, all mobility levels are very much welcome. And a digital lunar journal to deepen your relationship with yourself and the moon. By downloading this resource, you'll also begin to receive our monthly Moonflower journal, filled with cozy and seasonal self-care resources. Had I mentioned that it's all for free? Get in tune with the moon as well as with yourself by clicking the link in the show notes or visiting our website, themoonflowerpath.com. So the first step is to feel your feels. There's no point in ignoring the fact that there are periods of times where your physical body actually feels the effects of the emotions that come along with feeling anxious about the state of the climate. There are times where I'm sure that there's shaking, there's emotions, there's quickening of heartbeat, there's a tenseness in your stomach, or a welling up of tears in your eyes. And those are all very real experiences. And the first step is to let yourself feel the feels. You can't move forward if you're paralyzed by fear, grief, or distress. You also can't control everything. You can't control all that happens with climate change. So focus on what you can control. And that is what you do with those emotions. So we start with feeling them. Do you have any outlets to let those emotions move through your body? If none come to mind, here are a few examples. 1, move your body. This is probably no surprise if you've been part of this space for a little while. Also, I'm a certified yoga teacher, so of course it's the first thing I'm gonna say. But I don't only mean yoga, I just mean move your body. Easiest way to do that, be put on one of your favorite songs that you know is gonna move your body. And it isn't about moving your body so that you hopefully feel better and overjoyed. It's about just moving your body. Put on a song that will get you up and moving, and for the entire length of the song, put the volume up and just move. Let the tears well up and fall down your cheeks. Let the shouts of frustration come out. Let the completely, what the hell are we going to do about the state of the world feelings move through. Let them come up and let them move through. Shake, wiggle, stomp your feet. All of it is welcome and will be helpful. Trust me, I say this from personal experience that it will be helpful. Talk it out. Seriously, send a voice note to a friend and share what's going on through your mind. To vocalize something can make it feel a bit less like you are trapped in it or by it, and a lot less clouded in darkness. Bring it to the light. Chances are your friend is familiar with the experience that you'll be sharing and can be in it with you. Or turn to a creative practice. Draw, paint, doodle, create. Creativity is a beautiful way to let emotions be felt, listened to, and processed. Who cares if you draw like a 5-year-old? And I only say that because I definitely draw like a 5-year-old. Just let your pencil move on the paper in any direction. And heck, maybe you scribble your heart out and rip the paper. Great. Let the emotions pour out your hands and onto the page. Creativity doesn't only have to come through in visual art. If that's not your thing, but you know that you're a creative person, you could get into the kitchen, take your anger out on kneading some bread or chopping some vegetables. You could get into your garden, especially right now in the fall, and actually pull out your weeds. Maybe you want to make a plant mandala with them, or maybe just the act of moving your body and pulling out the weeds from your garden will be helpful. Let the creativity help move the things through. That's just a few ways that you can actually give time and space to feel the feelings. But I'm not here to tell you get over it. The anxiety that you feel is super real and super valid, but it also can feel really paralyzing. And one of the first steps is to let those emotions move through. The next step is to help signal safety to your body. I would say this is probably, I don't know, they're all important. All of these steps are really important, but I would say this is probably one of the most important ones and probably will be one of the most helpful ones. Because if anxiety is a way that we convince ourselves we aren't safe, then we need to find tools to remind ourselves that in fact we are. Often anxiety is one's brain looking towards the future and thinking of all the ways the future is fraught with threats to our safety. But then what happens is that the body doesn't know that what's happening in the brain is in the future, and it begins to react as if the threat is here right now. I'm sure that you've guessed it by now that what I'm about to say is practicing presence here is key. And you have the best tool right at your disposal right now to help you practice presence, and that is your body. Look around in your space. See the roof over your head. Feel the solidity of the floor beneath your body. Listen to the calmness of the birds singing outside or of the wind moving through the leaves of the trees. Smell the warmth in the room that you're in. Notice and look around that right here, right now, you are safe. Remind yourself that quite literally, as you're listening to this podcast episode, or the next time you notice this swelling of emotions and you've taken that time to actually feel them, let them move through, remind yourself that you are safe. Take a break from taking in the news that is telling you all the things that you should feel stressed about when it comes to the environment. You can come back to it at some point, but when you begin to notice yourself feeling anxious to a point that it's not actually helpful, then take a pause, step away, and come back to the exact present environment and moment that you are in. Repeat those words to yourself. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. Signaling to your body that indeed right here and right now you are safe. And then the next step, practice gratitude. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm saying it anyways. Eco-anxiety can often revolve around what we lack and what we either are or are going to lose. Climate change also stems from a collective, like climate change, the cause of climate change amongst many things, but one of them stems from a collective scarcity mindset that we don't have enough and that we must keep taking from the earth. So this last step not only will help you navigate the grief found in eco-anxiety, it will also help you be a continually better steward for the land and remembering the abundance all around you. So try turning to what you're grateful for. Start small, and eventually you will see that the more you open your eyes to what you have, you will see that gratitude grow and grow. It's just kind of how practicing gratitude works. And one of the things this can also help with is feeling a little less alone, to notice the support system that you have in your life and let it wash over you. The thing that I find really happens here is that the love and the care that comes from this last step that begins to help refuel the love and care well inside of you helps transform the pain and grief into hope and fuel for how you can keep moving through your life doing the best that you can, because that's really all you can ask yourself to do. Again, coming back to the reality that the root of that anxiety is care. And the hope is that by moving through this process, these 3 steps, just 3 steps that I just talked you through, that moving through this process, that anxiety can actually transform into love and care, because that is what its root is when we kind of sift through it all. You're allowed to lose hope sometimes. You're allowed to feel so stricken down by grief that you have to lay your body down and have a good cry. Yet please, please don't live there, Moonflower. That care is fuel. That love is magic. To walk along this path of seasonal living, while it is beautiful and we get so much from our connection with the earth, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that we can't turn a blind eye to the challenges that the earth is moving through. Please know that you're not alone in feeling the grief in that. And I deeply hope that this episode has helped offer you some practical tools on how you can navigate the anxiety that comes with being an earth-loving soul. Please don't let that care turn into something that overwhelms you. Let it turn into fueling magic. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Moonflower Path podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn, and ways that you can find more support from me and this cozy community are all found in the show notes. Please consider rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast with a friend. Those are the best ways to show your support for this free and accessible resource. Wishing you a gentle rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting again with you very soon.